Jonah?
The difference between a fool
Mm-hmm.
and a person that is wise
Is the fear of the Lord.
Fear of the Lord.
Okay. Now, what I want to know is it possible for someone to have the fear of the Lord but yet not know God? Meaning, like, not be a follower of Jesus. Like, can they know the fear of the Lord? Can they know the fear of the Lord and go astray? That's what I want to know. Because wouldn't that also be a fool, right? If someone goes astray, wouldn't that also be a fool, right? If I'm sort of going off topic, I apologize. So, we can kind of like drift back over to what we were doing before, if you want, because we don't want to bore the audience,
Oh,
So
here's a question for you.
here's a question for me.
Yeah.
How can a Christian overcome the fear of witnessing? Right.
Okay. To honestly tell you,
To honestly tell me what?
I don't know the answer to this question.
Like, what I'm basically trying to.
For unbelievers, the
What?
fear of God is the fear of judgment of God and eternal death, which is eternal separation from God. For the believer, that fear is something much different. The believer's fear is reverence of God.
That's not what I'm referring to. Though. I'm talking about someone that believes in God, right? But they don't believes in Jesus, believes that He died, believes that He resurrected. But it's like he's not living the life in which he should live, and he's not picking up his cross every day.
First, what you ask me is, is it possible for somebody to have the fear of the Lord and not be a Christian?
Right. But
according to that first sentence, that first sentence is saying yes, it's possible.
Okay, but what I'm basically asking you, right, is like, because people have taken parts of the Bible, right, and they've used it for their own gain. Like, for instance, people say all the time, treat other people the way you would like to be treated, but they have no knowledge of where that came from, but yet it benefits their own lives and they use it for selfish purposes. So what I'm trying to say is it possible for someone to have the fear of the Lord but use it for their own benefit so they don't end up in jail, they don't end up they don't do all those things because they want it to benefit them.
Are receiving a kingdom that cannot be saved. So let us be thankful and so worship God acceptably with reverence and awe, for our God is a consuming fire. This reverence and awe is exactly what the fear of God means for a Christian.
Now,
it's motivating factor for us to surrender to the Creator of the universe. No. Okay, if somebody is not following Christ and is saved, like became saved, had the fear of the Lord, but are not picking up his cross daily, he doesn't have the fear of reverence of God, but the fear of the judgment of God.
Then he doesn't have the fear of the Lord then.
They're both the same.
No, what I'm trying to get at is, right, because it says on there, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, right? So in that case, right?
Okay.
If you have a non-believer, or if you have someone that's not a Christian, right?
The knowledge, the unbeliever, the fear of the Lord, is the fear of judgment.
Not everybody has the fear of the Lord, though.
Exactly, but I'm saying the fear of the Lord for unbelievers is the fear of judgment of God and the eternal death. So they don't have
the fear of the Lord that Proverbs is talking about.
No, they do. If they have the fear of judgment and eternal death, it basically means if you gain the fear of the Lord, you will be starting to become a Christian. You will be on the mission to find something to get you out of this judgment and eternal death. That is the fear of the Lord for the unbeliever.
Now, if that's
the fear of the Lord of a Christian is the fear of the reverence of God, which the reverence is your awe, which is exactly it's the motivating factor to us to surrender to the Creator of the universe.
Oh, so what you're trying to say is that the awe is the fear of reverence.
It's worshiping God acceptably with reverence and awe.
Okay.
With reverence and awe.
So what you're trying to express is that
awe means a feeling of respect.
Feeling of respect. Okay.
And reverence means deep respect for someone or something. So they basically mean the same thing.
Okay. So I'm assuming that I presume that someone that is not a Christian that is introduced to the fear of the Lord in the sense of eternal damnation and just judgment in general, right? That would lead them to repentance, but the awe of God, the reverence in which Christians have for God, leads them to
pick up
their cross
daily and follow Him.
So we're not supposed to rely on the fear of hell to get us through our Christian walk.
Because we already got to the point that we're not going there. We deserve that, but we're not going there. Everybody else who is in this unbeliever category
now is
still going there. So they have to they use the fear of the Lord to find how to get out of that.
Okay.
Which should lead them to John 3:16. And Christ.
If someone repents, right, and someone has the fear of the Lord and they just became a believer, right? But now they have to have a new type of fear. They have to have a reverent fear. So is it possible for someone to be a Christian and not have a reverent fear?
Yes. To the degree of the switch hasn't fully been made.
Okay.
So when you accept, you're inviting God into your heart to change you. But the reverence fear is the specific locations of your life that you are just surrendering to Him. Which this is always a process because of our sinful nature and pride.
But how can someone have a reverent fear of God without looking at a place like hell? What I'm trying to say is that, like, what I'm saying is, if where is the reverent fear come from if you don't look at hell? Is what I'm trying to say at all. I'm not saying the fear of going to hell, but I'm saying the fear of the capability that God is able to make a place like that is very scary.
A biblical fear of God for a believer includes understanding how much God hates sin and fearing his judgment on sin, even in the life of a believer. So, yes, we still have to keep that fear of judgment and eternal death, but we have to give the respect to God and know that he has the power to take this away. He has the power to take the sin that he hates out of our lives.
Okay. So let's go back on let's go back to what we were talking about before in Proverbs. Where do we leave off now? Do you want to?
Your question was
about the fear of the Lord,
and it was also on how useless to a bird. But then we went back up to
should we
this.
Would you want to summarize what we read between 18 and 8 and yeah, I'm sorry, 8 and 18, and then we'll move on to the next thing?
Warning against the inventions of a sinful man. Okay. The title gives it away.
well, yeah, that's true. The title does give it away.
It's basically warning us to stay away from those people.
Mm-hmm.
And not...
But what
we can't stay away from them because we need to witness to them.
When they mean stay away... When they mean stay away, are they talking about stay away from their lifestyle?
Remember what I was talking about when I said my swim team came up to me and said, oh, if we could get the most beautiful girl in school to have sex with you, would you do it? That is what this is pointing away. You're supposed to see that these people are basically spreading a net to catch so every bird can see it. They're trying to trap you, and you have to now see that this is a trap and walk away from it as an innocent man. You have to act like a child. You have to know that clearly is not where I'm supposed to go, and go in this direction, which is towards God, and away from that, and walk away from the situation that the devil just put you in. That's what this is meaning. If that's a better understanding of these crazy words.
Yeah, it is very hard to understand. So maybe as we go along, we'll start to kind of grasp what the message is. So.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Europe.
Out in the open, wisdom calls aloud. She raises her voice in the public square, on top of the wall. On top of the wall, she cries out. At the city gate, she makes her speech. So basically, what they're saying is that wisdom is always around people, around fools.
Be at noisy street corners.
Right. No. I don't think they literally mean. Well, yes. In some cases, there are.
Yeah, no.
There are people.
This is telling you what wall. This D that I just pulled up is telling you what wall is, and it says that no.
I understand that, but I think what they're trying to get at is the right thing to do is always told to us all the time, but sometimes we refuse to do it. So what I'm saying, I think that's what they're trying to say. Like, for instance, like you know.
Wisdom is all around us.
Sometimes Tommy's father always says, "Please, you gotta stop cursing." You know what I mean? But he refuses to listen. It's always out there. It's always crying out. So know. How long will you who are simple or fools, right, love your foolish ways, simple ways? How long will mockers delight in mockery, and fools hate knowledge? Repent at my rebuke. So whose rebuke is God's rebuke to them? Is that what he's trying to say?
God's rebuke or wisdom's rebuke, which is also another way to say God.
Oh, okay. So
Or
basically, be
or
sorrowful.
any person who's trying to tell you that this is wrong.
Hmm. So they want you to be sorrowful of your rebuke. So then I will pour out my thoughts to you. This is after. Oh, wait. This is a literal. I've noticed just now that this is a literal thing that happens once somebody actually accepts and repents at someone's rebuke. At that, at that point, when someone says, "Okay, I will listen to you," literally, they will pour out my thoughts to you. Meaning, like they'll start listening. Like for instance, if someone's saying like the father that says, stop cursing, you know what I mean? Because X, Y, and Z, but the person doesn't want to listen, right? So once he starts listening, right, in a way, the father's pouring out his thoughts on that rule. He's always been pouring it out, but now he's listening. I will make known to you my teachings, even though it's always been there, but now the person's listening. But since you refuse to listen when I call, and no one pays attention when I stretch out my hand, meaning beforehand in the past tense, since you disregarded all my advice and do not accept my rebuke, accept the teachings of the father versus Tommy, the child, right? I in turn will laugh when disaster strikes at you. So this part I don't understand now, right? So why would someone laugh after giving wisdom and someone not accepting it? Wouldn't it be just like um, a very like the person's disheartened and feels bad for, but it's like it grieves a person's heart to see someone fall into calamity. What I'm trying to say is that is,
Okay.
does Jesus mock people when they're when
No, that's not what this is saying. This is saying, okay, I gave you the way out. I gave you, but you didn't listen. Like, you know how, remember when I was saying that people are like reading their Bible and then they say, they keep reading their Bible and waiting for an answer,
Yes.
but the answer is literally right outside their door?
Mm-hmm.
Or they would get the answer if they put down the Bible?
Yeah.
This is what this is talking about. If you literally,
But is this
no,
because
it's saying
Can I
if you
can I ask you
if
another
I
question?
give you if I tell you wisdom, but you're like, if what I'm doing is wrong, God will tell me I'm doing it, what I'm doing is wrong.
But
And then
what I'm trying to figure out though is the person that's giving the wisdom laughing in the
no,
way that they
no,
want to see them hurt.
no. It's
Okay.
basically, you know the thing. Oh, I told you so.
But that's more of I don't think
You know,
that's not
you
right though.
know,
That's not
when
right.
people say I told you so. It's not like they're making fun of them. They're basically saying, you fell, I warned you, and now you're reaping the consequences of what I warned you was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not laughing at you, but in the sense I'm telling you I told you so, that you were going to go down this path and fall, but you said, nah, I have more faith that it's not going to.
I don't personally understand what they're trying to get, what God is trying to get across
Okay.
in this passage. So he's trying to say, I in turn will laugh when disaster strikes you. So does that mean that God laughs when he sees people fall into hell? I understand this is very strong language that I'm using, but I'm saying it's like it's
26.
does that mean? Oh wait, is this in the perspective of the actual person? Meaning like if I completely disregard someone's reproof, right? And then I expect, how do I say this? I expect to like in a sense, I feel like I'm laughed at, or like a person feels like they're laughed at, right?
The one.
When they don't listen.
Okay. But you, O Lord, laugh. It basically, yes, the Lord would laugh in sorrow and disappointment because he warned the person. Therefore, calamity would come upon him suddenly, and in an instant he would be shattered beyond recovery.
Now, is this talking about in like an individual temporary situation in a person's life, or is he talking about death, hell, and eternal damnation?
He's talking about all. He's talking about in every situation. So let's say I told you, oh, you shouldn't go see this movie because this movie is not right for you.
It's demonic.
But you say, I don't care, I want to go see it. And you go see it, and you walk away, and now you're having nightmares every single night because you went to go see this horror film.
I don't mean to say this, but is this speaking in the perspective
and then I would say to you, told you so, like, now you know that I was telling the truth, and you would learn not to do that again. But I warned you before that.
No, I don't mean to sound like confusing, but like this sounds like something that the enemy would say. For instance, I will turn and laugh when disaster strikes you.
Keep reading.
I will mock. Okay, I will mock. I will mock when calamity overtakes you. When calamity overtakes you like a storm, when disaster sweeps over you like a whirlwind, when distress and trouble overwhelm you, then they, or the fools, right? Or the fools will call to me, but I will not answer. Is it because of...
Keep reading.
They will look for me, but will not find me, since they hated knowledge and did not choose the fear of the Lord. Since they would not accept my advice and spume my rebuke. How do you say that?
Rejected.
No, how do you say it? Can you press the
just
are rejected? Okay.
Just
I rejected my rebuke. They will eat the fruits of their ways and be filled with the fruits of their schemes. So basically, that's trying to say that.
Keep reading.
Wait,
first finish, and then I'll answer all your questions.
And the complacency of fools.
No, you're up for the way.
Oh, for the waywardness of the fool or the simple will kill them. Now, what's the wayward mean?
Keep. Waywardness.
Because I've heard this in a song like.
Carry on, Wayward Son?
Yeah, there was a song, guys, called Carry On the Wayward Son. And...
turning away from what is right and proper. Willful or disobedient.
So this sounds...
A wayward son or a wayward behavior swayed or prompted by caprice, a wayward impulse to be wayward in one affection. Turn
so
away.
We can basically say that the prodigal son was a wayward person at some point.
Yes.
Okay.
Keep reading.
For the waywardness of the fool or simple will kill them, and the complacency. What does that mean? I mean, I've heard that word a lot. I'm assuming it would mean like the contentment.
Feeling of smug or uncritical satisfaction with oneself or one's achievements.
I don't get that definition. Okay.
The pride of the fools.
And the pride of the fools, the complacency. It doesn't sound like pride to me, but okay.
Hang on. Smug, self-satisfaction, self-approval, There's the word right there, pride. As
Pride,
a
okay.
synonym.
But it can also mean other different things too. So that's why it's like, you know how like they have the words.
If
You know,
okay.
oh wait, hold on. You know how they have like they have the words there and then there, THEIR and then THERE. Then what I'm saying is the
Yes.
synonyms can mean different things too.
Yes, but a feeling of smug.
What's smug? What is smug?
Having or showing an excessive pride in oneself.
Okay, so it is pride. So it's excessive pride in one's achievements.
Yeah.
So the complacency of fools,
which is the pride of fools.
The continuous pride of fools will destroy them. But whoever listens to me, which is God speaking, will live in safety and be at ease without fear of harm.
Okay. So when he says, I will laugh them and mock them, it's basically saying, I will basically shun them because until they have the fear of me and start listening, that they're going to cry out in their sin, but I warn them not to do this. I warn them. So yes, he forgives you, but if you keep going back, you are a fool.
Right. But what I'm trying to get the answer to is, or what I think the audience is trying to understand this too, because there could be some people out there that don't get what we're talking about. So when it says that he will laugh when disaster strikes, I will mock when calamity overtakes you, right? And then let's go down where it says they will eat the fruits of their ways and be filled with the fruits of their schemes. So basically, is that part right there? Is that trying to say that the things that a person does consistently, okay, they will bear the consequences of the things that people do. Of what a person does, a person will get. What a person does, the consequences he must suffer.
Yes. The consequences would be God saying, I told you shouldn't do this, so now you get this. It's like I'm saying, I told you, like, oh, I went to go see a horror film, and now I have nightmares.
Oh, okay.
So your father is told you, you shouldn't go see this movie.
Oh, wait. So I think I kind of, I'm starting to understand the train of thought.
So let's say
is he saying that why, like, basically, like,
you shouldn't go to the pool.
Fools shouldn't
go to the pool because it's a lust trap for you.
What I'm saying is he saying that fools should not expect a different outcome if they do the thing a fool does? Basically, if they do a thing that a fool does, what a fool wants to do, then he's going to bear the fruits of his schemes. Why would he expect any differently? Those things God will not pull away from him. But I don't think this is talking about salvation.
This is not talking about salvation.
This is talking about if you decide to, skateboard.
Either somebody's already saved or somebody's not saved. But saved at this point, there was no way out. Right now, there is no way out, but there is a way out because Jesus died on the cross. But when this was written, there was no way out.
Right.
So
would a good example be like if someone is doing parkour, okay, and they're not a professional, they're doing it for the first time, and they're doing it in a type of area where there's a lot of things that can hurt them, and they end up breaking their neck. Right? Well, a fool will bear.
No.
A fool will bear the consequences.
No.
I'm giving you an example.
Yes, but that's still not the. Yes, that.
Okay. If you eat too much bad food, don't expect to have your stomach to feel good.
That's still not what it's talking about. What it's talking about is if your father told you. Your dad told you you shouldn't play this video game.
Is
And you told him, I want to play this video game. I like this video game and I want to buy it and I want to play it. If you didn't, and then you played the video game, and then you started going to a movie theater and shooting people because, or you wanted to, you got obsessed with violence. That would be an example of a fool reaping his ways, and would be wisdom because somebody told you this was wrong. So, if the
I get what you're saying. Is this saying, is God trying to say...
In a Christian world where Jesus is saved, it would be the Holy Spirit is convicting you that you shouldn't watch this film. Or this TV show, like in my case, Sabrina's Teenage Witch. Even though I felt the heavy heart, I still tried.
Mm-hmm.
But every time I went, I realized that I'm not supposed to watch this, and I couldn't go past one episode. But if I continued, I would eventually get to a point that God would just be laughing at me and I would be able to watch it.
So basically what you're saying is like, let me give you an example.
Remember your question?
Let me better understand this by giving an example. Wait, hold on. 1 second.
Would it, if you keep doing the sin, would the Holy Spirit stop convicting you?
No, it will not.
That is your answer.
Okay.
No, that is your answer. He will.
He will convict.
He will stop convicting you because you will now have to face the consequences, and then he will start convicting you again. But at the point, he's going to let the consequences
basically the manufacturer of wisdom, the person who person who produces.
If let's say you are convicted, and God keeps convicting you, but you keep going back and sinning, I'm going to stop convicting you. Now the consequences are going to happen. Now I'm going to convict you again. You keep doing it, I'm going to stop convicting you, and I'm going to give you a punishment.
If somebody dies in the wrong state, that means they go to hell.
No. Once you're saved, you are always saved.
Okay.
But
now, okay.
But what is
can I just give you an example really quick to see if I understand this? Okay. So for instance, if my father told me that I noticed that when you drink alcohol, this is not true by the way. I'll just say I noticed that when you drink alcohol, then you're more likely to be more willing to sleep with a female. And then I go and do that, and then I end up sleeping with a female, and I expect, I expected a different result, right? So for instance, that would be an example.
That would be wisdom.
Okay.
That would be the example of what this is.
I just don't understand the laughing part of it. That's all. The mocking part of it.
The mocking is basically he's saying, I told you so, but you still went to go do it anyway.
Oh, so it will seem like mocking for us because we didn't listen. We
Exactly.
will mock ourselves.
No, it would be like, okay, you're gonna get your consequences right now, and I'm just gonna be sitting here, and I'm just gonna look upon you, and I'm just gonna be like, I told you so.
Is there a different sense of mock and laugh in this passage? Are they using it in a different way? Because it looks like it.
Something.
Do you have a time check by any chance? Do you have a time check? Let me see what time it is. I should have my phone.
It's 10:01.
10:01. Okay.
For expressions like this, where the same actions are attributed to God, they are not to be taken literally, of course, for this sight of human follow can give no pleasure to him. they signify that he will act as if he mocked when he refused to hear their cry.
Can you repeat that again so I can understand? No, not the whole thing, but it's
Okay.
like from up to.
I'm going to
Wait, can I read
rephrase
it?
this.
Okay.
So, let's say your father tells you to do something. Your dad, like go clean your room. But you should stop playing that video game and you should clean your room. And you just continue playing the video game, and he takes away your video game system. But then you go cry to your mother, and your mother chose to not help you because they're one, and they're working, they're a team, and she basically accepts the punishment and he doesn't help you. But in God's case, there's only one. And so when he tells you, "Oh, you shouldn't go to the bar because you get drunk and you get violent."
Oh, so
And
is this
no,
is this
like
like
you're
a,
an alcohol.
Is this similar to like righteous anger?
Yes, you're an alcoholic, and you're an alcoholic. You shouldn't go to the bar. You're gonna be drinking 10 drinks and get drunk, and then bad things are gonna happen.
If I tell you not to drink alcohol because this X, Y, and Z will happen, you go drink alcohol, you come back, you stumbling in, you feel not good, and then I should just I should just laugh.
No, he basically says, "I told you so." And so when you're like, help me in this situation. Why am I feeling this way? Please help me. He's just gonna sit there and not listen to you.
So we mock ourselves, we laugh at ourselves.
Yeah. We are facing the consequences, and we're trying to call to God, but God basically already warned us of this situation, and we're praying to him. We're trying for him to help us, but he already gave us the way out. And so now we got to find that way out again.
My way out when it comes to lust and pornography is basically don't go to the swimming pool, because that's where those feelings and those temptations and those potential sins may arise.
Bingo. That would be wisdom. But being that you don't listen to it, and you do, and then you go home and you watch pornography because you went to the swimming pool and got lost, he would just sit there and laugh at you. He would basically not like he wouldn't laugh at you, but he would just sit there and say, he would just not answer you when you're saying, "Why? Well, help me. Why have you? I'll help. Please help me. I don't want to do this anymore."
Well, why wouldn't God help you in that place?
Because he told you to not go to the pool.
Yeah, but they did not have experience before that, is what I'm trying. Now they have experience of what he said and the knowledge. What I'm saying is, is that a coincidence?
Yes, that's a coincidence.
Are you sure about that?
It's right here. It's still here, but...
Well, can they still see me?
Yeah, they can still see
you. Okay, what I'm trying to say is that...
Hold this.
The fools did not have experience of how it would be demise, even though the Father told them of what it was going to happen, but they didn't experience it in themselves, right? So now that someone has experienced something, right? Just like when sometimes people preach the gospel but don't have love, and another person gets the gospel preached to them and has love, and they're accepting to the gospel that has love and rather than not to the other one. In the same way, right? When someone experiences the fruit of their own ways and how it's not beneficial for them, why wouldn't that person be there for them to overcome the next time it happens? Is this just saying they won't? Is this only saying that God or that person will not
He will not answer you in
that specific moment, but the next time. But the next time.
The thing is, right after you basically reap the consequences and you get sober, you're back in God's grace again. But that specific time.
But if someone were to die in that situation, they would not experience heaven.
That's not what this is saying. This is pointing to before Christ.
Okay, let me ask you one question. Would you define a fool or someone that does things that are not beneficial for them, that are against God for a short period of time, would you say that that's backsliding?
What?
Someone that is a fool, someone that is told what to do, doesn't do it, and reaps the fruits of their ways. So what I'm saying is that person a backslider? Because backsliders will not get
in the time at the top in the time of. It's basically all of this is basically, and again, it says that for where the same act for expressions like this, where some actions are attributed to God, they are not to be taken literally. So this specific verse should not be taken literally. He will laugh and mock you. It should not be taken literally. Of course, for the sight of human folly can give no pleasure to him. So the sight of us sinning and doing wrong doesn't give him pleasure. It's us doing good that gives him pleasure to it. They signify that he will act as if he mocked when he refused to hear your cry. Similar expressions to human actions to the Almighty or human feelings. Basically, in their extreme distress, he will not only refuse to help, but aggravated by. What is this?
But what I want to know is a fool categorized
diversion
under the umbrella
by contemptuous ridicule, mockery?
Is a fool categorized under the umbrella of a backslider? If it is, it actually says, I believe so, please correct me if I'm wrong, that a backslider will not inherit the kingdom of God. At first, is a fool categorized as a backslider? And then if it is, backsliders don't go to heaven. So, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. It's a very important question, I think. So. See, the reason I'm always questioning these things is that an individual does not want to be wrong about the afterlife, because if they are, it's the worst thing in the world. So it's like you got to ask the.
How does the Bible describe it? The Bible has much to say about fools. The word fool today usually means a senseless fellow, a delude. The biblical definition has added the dimension of someone who disregards God's word.
Jonah, before you finish the whole thing, I have to go take a poop. Do you mind if I go? Or
you know, you just said that over.
Do you mind if I go?
Yeah, you could go to the bathroom.
Wait, I just said that over there?
Yep.
Okay.
All right. By the way, when you come down, can you get the water?
From where?
The fridge.
Okay. Does it matter what type of water it is?
Actually, I will go up. We will let them stay here for except and read and so.
You gotta tell them that we're gonna come right back.
They know we're coming right back.
Guys, I just want to let you know we'll be right back. Okay, don't stick around. All right. More with Jonah and Evan and the book of Proverbs. So okay, stay right there. you gotta let your audience know that you're gonna say that.
I'm going to get water, and you said you were going to the bathroom. So I basically implied we will be back.
Jonah,
Yeah?
you think I can stay until 12 and then you drive me home, or?
No.
Okay.
We're gonna be done with this soon.
Okay.
After I answer your questions.
I'll be right back.
I'm only doing this until 10:30, and then we're switching, so hurry up.
Hey, Jonah, I noticed that you had a like a scale in the restroom, and I kindly took the time to weigh myself with my shoes on, so I'm not fat, so just wanted to let everybody know.
How much do you weigh?
200. I don't remember. Okay, yeah.
You are fat. You're
Okay.
over 200, you are fat.
Yep. I'm very fat in my brain because I can't think. So.
Because I am overweight, and I'm 210.
That's what we got to get to the gym. Me and Jonah were thinking about going to LA Fitness if you guys wanted to join us, you know.
Okay, so, where were we?
We were looking up on the internet. If
the Bible lists many characteristics of such person, often contrasting him with one who is wise. The heart of the wise inclines to the right, but the heart of the fool to the left. A fool is one whose word heart turns continually towards foolishness. Fools speak foolishness and makes evil plans. So, as a dog returns to its vomit, so fools repeat their folly. Fools do not learn their lesson from the mistakes they make. They continue doing the same foolish thing over and over again to their own destruction.
That sounds a little bit like me.
The following is partial list of some characteristics of the fool. A fool hates knowledge, takes no pleasure in understanding, enjoys wicked schemes, proclaims folly, spurns a parent's discipline, speaks perversity, is quick-tempered, gets himself into trouble with his proud speech, mocks at sin, is deceitful, and despises his mother. A foolish child brings grief to his or her parents. Foolish man commits sexual immorality. Foolish woman tears down her own house. Ultimately described of a fool is someone who says in his heart there is no God. They are corrupt and their ways are vile. There is no one who does good. Though a fool can choose to become wise, but heeding wise counsel and applying it. The Bible warns against associating with fools, says, walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm.
But what I'm trying to get
This is what the Bible defines as a fool.
right.
It's not a backslider.
So we're gonna eventually get into what a backslider is in the future of studying Proverbs, right? Because I'm pretty sure that's what they do talk about that at some point.
Got questions. What is a backslider? We're getting a lot of wisdom just by reading chapter 1, guys. What does it mean to backslide? The word backslide in the Christian's consonants implies movement away from Christ rather than towards him. A backslider is someone who is doing it the wrong way spiritually. He is regressing rather than progressing. The backslider has at one time demonstrated a commitment to Christ or maintaining a certain standard of behavior, but he has since reverted to his old ways. Backsliding may manifest itself in several ways: dropping out of a church, losing favor for the Lord, for walking away from a ministry or a family, or falling back into old habits. Some people use the word backslide to mean that the person has lost his or her salvation. However, since the saved person is secure in Christ, God will not kick his children out of his family. That is not how we will use the word. Rather than we will speak of backsliding, we simply mean that someone is growing cold towards Christ. A backslidden condition could indicate the person was never saved to begin with, in which case the backslider is only showing his true colors. But also possible for the children of God to backslide temporarily. The Bible uses the phrase fall away rather than backslide, but the idea is similar. In the Bible, to fall away could mean two different things. In one instance, the person is saved, but it experienced a temporary period of questioning that we would call a crisis of faith. In other instances, a person was never saved at all, but only temporarily behaving as a saved person would. We would call this taking Christianity for a test drive.
So that's what a backslider is, huh?
Yes. So, yes, a backslider doesn't mean you're going to hell unless you totally 100% backslid everything. Denied Christ, followed in your own ways.
It said denied Christ over there.
A backslid indicates So, but he has since referred it to his own ways. Backsliding may manifest itself in several ways: dropping out of a church, losing favor for the Lord, walking away from a ministry or a family, and falling back into old habits. So, if you do all four of these, you totally would not have any more salvation because you totally denied.
I think what they're trying to say is that if you start having the symptoms of all four of those, then the source of the salvation was never there to begin with.
Exactly.
Meaning, like, they never believed that
But
Jesus was their savior.
everybody, no, but also you can have all four of these, but if you stay, like, it's not just a temporal period. Which, what does temporal mean? Temporarily means, if to understand this, temporary means for a limited period of time, not permanently. So you can, if you are existing for 5 years and then you completely turn back, that's a limited time.
Really?
Temporarily could, it basically means not permanently. So if you backslide permanently, which you basically go down and live your entire life away from God, you go back to hell. But 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, the only time you 100% permanently enters is to death.
So if someone lives their life apart from Jesus until death, that means that they probably weren't a Christian to begin with.
Okay. 1, they believed God. If they basically committed their life to God and acted like they were living in God's graces and started showing systems of backsliding until death, yes, they were not a Christian to begin with. But don't get confused, because when two people are, because people could get saved, and God takes a long time because he's completing a masterpiece. Don't get confused if you are already in, like me watching pornography until March. Now it's just me, my tree is burning and I'm just struggling with it now, because sometimes I go back, sometimes I can not do it. But
I think I kind of struggle with this a lot, and I didn't know why. Like, I wanted the desire to go to church, right? At some point, like, for instance, when I was introduced to Christianity when I was 14 years old. Okay, I did not develop my.
Can you pass the water?
The water over here.
Yeah.
Okay, so, like, I was introduced to my church and Christianity and Jesus when I was 14. Okay. And I always went to church, until like around 18, 19, or like somewhere around that time. And then I would continuously go to church. But the thing is that slowly and slowly and slowly, like, I wouldn't get up around the right time. And, like, for instance, like, if I was awake, I would want to go to church. But then if I stayed up too late, I would miss church. So I'm not sure if that's categorized as backsliding.
Can I just tell you something?
Mm-hmm.
One thing is, okay, do you miss church now? Do you still miss church?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, here's the thing. Like, what if the church that someone is at?
Do you go Tuesday and Wednesday to young adults?
Yes.
Well, you went to church. God, the church, is not a building. Get that through your head. The church, we're technically right now a church.
Mm-hmm.
Because we are gathered of believers, and we are talking about God. And when two people is gathered in His name, He is there and amongst them. So,
I think that's why I didn't want to go.
Two people gathered.
Not because I feel like if we had more of these, you know what I mean?
Two people is all that it needs. Gathered talking about Christ. for you to say, I'm at church.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're not talking about Christ where you go, because it says you should not forsake the gathering of believers. So, and just so you know, Center Point has a 7:30 service, so you don't go to Living Faith in the morning, you go to church at night. Because that's where the Tuesday groups are going to be now.
Mm-hmm.
So you should come to the Center Point at 7:30.
Right. Now, what if, for instance, someone is a Christian, right? And the pastor in their church changes everything. And they say, I don't want to go to church now because of what they're teaching. Now, is that backsliding?
No. That is knowing. Is what he's teaching wrong? Or
Boring, maybe? I mean, like
that was okay. So yes, you'd go to another church. That is fine. That's not backsliding. Going to another church will help that. Unless, like for me, I felt that when I was in 7th and 8th grade because I was not ready to go upstairs and listen to the pastor. I should have been in kids' Sunday school.
You know where it says in the Bible about how, like, if
You
someone has grown up in the faith, right, that means they will not forsake that faith because they grew up in it, right? So, if I came to the church when I was 14, did I miss the mark?
No. The thing is, you came to the church when you're 14, but you kind of missed a specific time period because as a kid you were taught when you go to the church you were taught the things of God as a kid, like myself. I went to Sunday school, kids church, youth group. I was always at church.
I mean, my mom would read me books about Jesus, but it was from a Catholic perspective.
Yes. So in your case you went to the church. But so your mind, Sunday is not at the point. You are not ready for Sunday church. You're ready for Tuesday night and Wednesday night and here. But you're not ready for a pastor talking who doesn't really answer the questions you need. But being that they're moving the young adults to groups afterwards, which I do think this part is a good idea, but I don't think when getting rid of Tuesday night groups is the way to go. I like the idea of we go deeper and now we can question what the pastor was talking about and we can understand things more with the groups on Sunday night. But now, what about going deeper for the Tuesday study? Those people who don't understand, who needs clarity in certain things, that's where. So the thing is, what I think should be more of, I just solved the problem. Thank you, God.
Your battery is
I
running low.
I I solved the problem on Twitch.
What was the problem?
You know how we get a piece of paper that Chris or the person speaking creates the questions?
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we not do that? And we focus on Q&A in the groups.
We just answer. We ask our own questions.
Like, we try to get a deeper understanding of what is taught, but we ask the questions.
So we can understand the interpretation and why it's that way
Yes.
instead of just blindly
Instead of having, because I always hate those questions, because they're not, you're rereading the passage. They're not really they're not really help you understand the questions. They like make the newcomers uncomfortable.
Can that make someone a backslider if they don't do it that way?
No.
Really?
No.
See, the thing is, right, is that when...
Okay, this will be the last question. Yeah? Not yet. This will be... What is your question?
Oh, what was I going to say now? Oh, okay. Like, for instance, like, the church that I go to, the first church that I went to, Living Faith Christian Church, it would be basically the whole routine that they would do is they would do 4 songs, right? Then they would do the pastor speaking, and then they would do one song after, right? But it didn't really feel like we were involved. You know what I mean? It's almost like I just don't like the fact that there's a praise team on the stage. What I'm trying to say. Does that make any sense? It's like there's nothing wrong with it, but it's like I wish it was just music, and then I was able to.
Okay, what? Can you turn that light on? Thank you. To give you clarity.
See what I have to
My
find?
dad. My clarity is they are worship leaders.
Who is?
The people on the stage.
Mm-hmm.
They are supposed to lead you into worship. So if Mike starts clapping their hands, or Josh starts clapping their hands, they want you to start clapping your hands. If Mike is lifting up their hands, they want you to lift up your hands. If
For some reason, when I sing those words sometimes, and it's not the correct song, right? It doesn't resonate with me. Is that normal?
What is the correct song?
There are certain songs that resonate with me more than other songs. Is that wrong?
No. That everybody is the same way. There's songs that I don't think are good songs. That should be said there. But there's songs that people want to. There's songs that people like. God only knows. I like that song because it pertains to my life.
Mm-hmm.
But a song like another song would not. I can't give you one at the time because most of the songs that I listen to and hear, I find a meaningful pertain. But if I don't, there's no meaning in what I'm singing, I usually don't sing.
Right.
And I'm usually on my iPod looking something up because God put in my heart that I need to go look this up instead of singing. Like what happened on Tuesday.
Did you notice that the worship music that churches usually do is more universal? Like, for instance, like they sing songs that everyone can relate to, but like you also want to relate in a personal way too. Like, for instance, like they may sing the Revelation song, "Holy, holy, holy," right?
Is the Lord God Almighty.
Who was and is to come. Everyone can relate to that.
Again, we're on stream, so be careful. Don't sing the whole. song. I don't want to get
Oh
copyright.
yeah, you don't get copyright. So it's like it's not
Although
wrong to
it doesn't
worship.
matter if I get copyrighted or not because it's not like
If someone abandoned church and only had church in their own house and they worshiped to songs that they related to, did
okay.
they really backslide?
Meaning?
Instead of going to a church, they worship at home and they worship with their friends and they worship to songs that
Pertain to them?
pertain to their testimony and their walk in it.
No. That's just you're doing things different. God wants you to come as you are, not as Johnny over there. So, if that song you are worshiping is not worship to you, then don't sing it.
Why do they make us sing it for?
You don't have to sing. I don't sing in certain situations. God leads me somewhere else, and I follow. It's up to you. If you start singing and you like the words, then
I
that's
love
what.
that song that you picked out for me. The what is it? I just haven't seen it yet. You're closer than you think you are. Remember that?
By Danny Goki.
Yeah.
I
He was
haven't
on
seen it
he was
yet.
on American Idol before he was a Christian too. You know that?
No.
Okay.
But that's exactly right. You're perfectly fine. People, although there are things that are called worship songs, like Nothing But the Blood of Jesus, you, Lord, I lift your name on high, holy, holy, and then there's songs that pertain to your testimony, which if you're singing, you are still worshiping. But other people wouldn't worship. So the church does worship, but they don't necessarily pertain to everybody because they want general worship. Do you get what I mean? Because how many people are in a church
At
building?
least 200, 300.
Okay. So,